have, first we have presentation to Mr. Siegel from School Boards Association for School Board Achievement. So this is for you, Brian. Then we have two presentations for students. The first one is from the New York State, they're both from the New York State Theater Education Association. Award of Excellence presented to Lori Stern. Is again from the New York State Theater Education Association, Award of Excellence presented to Jackson Graham. Next on the agenda, our elementary principal reports and speak.
A couple of things for update. We had several students that attended the district concert at Monticello High School that took place on May 13th and 14th. Our students did very well as usual. On May 18th, we had the prison concert. Again, that was a big hit. Art show on May 16th and 20th. We hope that you'll all join us on June 21st for the academic recognition and on June 22nd, sixth grade graduation. So we hope that you'll all attend and you'll be able to join us in the festivities. Again, I thank the PTA for their very successful clam sale on May 5th. That was a big hit. We saw a lot of community members and a lot of students and parents who were able to purchase their spring flowers. We had a Japanese drum assembly on May 20th. The kids really enjoyed that. The walk-a-thon was May 22nd. We hope for better weather next year. We had several people come out to that event, so we'll look forward to that again next year. And the ice cream and dance party will be June 16th at Circle Park. That was a huge success last year, so we'll go ahead and do that this year as well. We have multiple class trips that are going out almost on a daily basis, so the kids are getting exposed to a lot of wonderful events. And the last day of school is pre-K and kindergarten is Friday, June 17th. And it's just hitting the kids now that the end of school is approaching. So it's a little different than high school. Kids have known since January. Are there any questions from the Board of Education?
Thank you. Secondary principal report, Mr. Krebs.
Yes, I'll start off. This will be Griffin's last report for the student council as he is a graduating senior this year. He did have a couple of things he needed to go over, and whatever he doesn't briefly hit on, I will cover also in my reports.
So I was just going to say this has been a very long year, and we've actually this year have accomplished more than we had in the previous last years because we only started in 2013. We've done a lot of community service. We've actually done 2 out-of-county trips to other schools and stuff like that. We've done a lot of fundraising. It's been very hectic, and it's just been good. So because of that, I wanted to thank this year's student council representatives for the 9th grade, Brianna Terry, Patrick Kinney, Hannah Mayer, and then the 10th grade representative, Joseph Potter, Cassandra Weatherly, Julia Foster. And the 11th grade representatives, Samantha Butt, Ella Sherwood, Catherine Nicholson. And then for the 12th grades, we have Julia Curley, Melissa McMonagle, and then myself. And then aside from that, I wanted to thank Ms. Stringer, our advisor, for letting us use her room and harassing her nonstop, for her materials and all that in real time. And then I would like to thank Mr. Krebs, Mr. DeFord, and the board. And Other than that, we just have a lot of good stuff planned for next year. We all sat down and had a meeting. We have an entire binder full, all the months, where we schedule every single thing. And on that, we have the senior citizens prom. And along with that, we also have a presentation for the high school alumni to come back and talk with the high school kids about what college is like. They answer questions like, real questions about scholarships, financial aid, and then there's some discussion about like, is your campus a dry campus or wet campus, or that one, or is it, you have forms, you like your roommate. So, it's a good mix of stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. So, again, congratulations to all the people that I listed off, and good luck next year.
Griffin missed out on one that I thought you were going to bring up. No, the senior walk. This year, if you haven't seen our Facebook page, the Mrs. Robertson and Ms. Guerin had conversed a little bit in the office about looking at a senior walk where seniors would come down to the elementary school in cap and gown. Ms. Guerin went up and spoke with the seniors who said, yes, this is something that we would like to do. And with the help of all of the elementary teachers and all of the elementary students, and I think almost all of our seniors came over in cap and gown, and we walked through the halls of the elementary building amongst music and banners and just well wishes by everyone. It was just, I participated in witnessing what was going on. I know the elementary staff that was here. It was just a wonderful event. The kids, as Ms. Keegan has said, are still talking about it in both the high school and the elementary levels. So I would like to thank everybody who put that together. Mrs. Robertson kind of had that little general idea, and it came to fruition, and it was just a wonderful event here at the elementary school. So thank you for all who participated in that, including the elementary teachers that had their kids make banners and signs and high fives and everything. It was just wonderful. Also, we had, I don't know if Doug will touch on it, but he was able to participate today with Senator Bonasek at Albany, Celebrate Excellence Day, where our top 3 students were honored and had an opportunity to meet with Senator Bonasek and have a tour of the building and go to the floor and their names being read. It was a nice day for them. Also on top of that, they were recognized in the county at an academic achievement dinner in Roscoe this past Monday night. Last night we had our sports award banquet here at the school where we recognized all of our athletes throughout the year. JJ, do you have anything you want to add to our sports?
No, just basically the 2015 season's over.
Yeah.
Officially.
And our banquet was a culmination with that. I had indicated that our choral group went to NISMA Majors, which is an adjudication with the group as a whole, and our choral group came back with a bronze medal. Today, our 2 band groups, the junior high band came back with a silver medal, and our senior high band came back with a gold medal. We have graduations upon us. Mr. Dufour, I believe, will be participating in tomorrow's graduation at BOCES with the special education and all ed students that will be taking place tomorrow. Our senior baccalaureate evening is next Monday, 7 p.m. at the Congregational Church in Elbridge. And across from Max. The church that's directly across from Max, kind of up on the hill. The career and tech are all of our students. We have about 14, I believe, this year that will be receiving certificates from the career and tech. That's the VOTEC program at BOCES, and that they have a presentation at Monticello this year, and that will be taking place on June 16th at 7 p.m. That's a nice evening where they receive their certificates of completion in whatever their VOTEC program was. And graduation, as you know, is June 25th at 10 a.m. And I'd like to also recognize that you have yearbooks in front of you that have been provided by our yearbook staff that was put forth by the students, and their advisor was Mrs. Howell. So any questions for the junior senior high school? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. Business office report, Ms. Lewis.
For the business my written report, I have a couple of things to add. Next week I'll be attending the school business officials conference. And we have several things that I need to see on this meeting. Do you have any questions regarding the report? Set with the agenda?
Oh, on the internet, not paper. Gotcha, okay. I just thought maybe it had paper.
We can require a signature for everything. Very good. Any other questions for Ruth? Okay, thank you. Our district report, district report.
I'm pleased to report that after 5 months of negotiations, the district and the Eldred Faculty Association have reached an agreement on a new contract. The agreement calls for a term of 5 years, an incremental base salary increase of 0% in the first half of the year and 1.5% in the second half of the year for each year of the contract. All schedules and tables will increase by 1.5% in each of the 5 years. EFA members will contribute an additional 2% to the district to offset the cost of their health insurance, phased in at 0.5% per year starting in the second year of the contract. And there will be a $150 increase in the tenure differential for all teachers that have been tenured in each year beginning in the second year of the contract. I believe the contract is fair to both the district and the EFA, and that it provides the stability and predictability in these difficult times of budget projections. I'm recommending that the BOE approve the contract on the consent agenda. I'd like to thank Mr. LaFoot, Mr. Reiser, and Ms. Lewis, who consisted, along with myself, of the district's negotiating team, for putting in the time and effort to conduct these negotiations. And I would like to thank the Eldred Faculty Association for cordially entering into the into the negotiations and helping us reach a new agreement for the next 5 years. As you are all aware, Bonnie will be retiring on July 31st, 2016. On the consent agenda, I'm recommending that Wendy Jokerski be appointed as the secretary to the superintendent/district clerk. Wendy has been a CSEA senior typist with the district for the past 8 years. She has worked both in our elementary school and our high school. Additionally, she worked directly for me as my secretary during the transition and interview period for our elementary principal. She has covered Bonnie at BOE meetings and internally when she was on vacation or out. Wendy knows the district, the staff, and parents, and possesses the skill set to immediately transition into this position. I am therefore recommending her appointment on the consent agenda. I'm pleased to report that Eldred has been awarded $35,000 in bullet aid from Senator Bonasek and $100,000 in bullet aid from Assemblywoman Gunther. These monies were provided to help offset the operating costs of our 2 pre-K classrooms and the pre-K program in general. And finally, this is the end of Mr. Gass's first year as our athletic coordinator. In general, this has been a banner year for Eldred Athletics, winning league, region, and state titles in multiple sports: track, wrestling, basketball, softball, and soccer, to name a few. Mr. Gass has done an outstanding job, but has informed me that the time requirements to do the job properly require him to have more time during the school day to properly manage our athletic programs. He has requested an additional period of release time during the school day to do the job well. To that end, I am working with the Faculty Association to create a hybrid position that will cover for the 2 phys ed classes during the school day, as well as other necessary supervisory duties at the junior senior high school.
Any questions for Bob?
I just have a question. Back in the contract, I don't understand what that means, the $150 increase in the tenure differential for all teachers that have been tenured in each year, beginning in tier 2. I guess I just don't understand that.
The teachers, the tenured teachers receive what's called a tenure bump or a tenure differential. It's a fixed sum of money each year over and above their salary. Each year. Starting in year 2, that line item will go up by $150 for each year, each of the remaining 4 years of the contract.
Oh, I see, okay. That makes more sense.
Any other questions? Thank you. I just have 3 things. As Mr. Krebs had indicated, I was able to attend a trip to the Capitol with 3 of our students. And Mr. Bonasek, Senator Bonasek sponsored the activity, and just a great time to, we do this, we become school board members, all of us for different reasons, but this is the reason we become school board members, to see kids, our students, in this level. It really was a wonderful experience. To that end, the student achievement dinner at Roscoe, we had the same 3 students who were recognized. This is an event that Sullivan County BOCES has put on, but sponsored by the Times Record for, I think they said 30+ years. And again, to see our students, in a formal dining setting, and barely fumbling with their phones too often. It's just a great time. Great time. This is, again, this is why you become school board. And last but not least, I need to. I spoke with Mr. Borstedt. He was recognized as our outstanding educator. And I had it on my calendar to be there, and something came up last minute where it involved my daughter, and she had to go to a dinner for a scholarship opportunity, she was awarded. And so I had to choose my daughter over Mr. Borstedt. So I apologize, and I'm sorry that I missed that opportunity, but my public congratulations to Mr. Borstedt on that. Outstanding. Okay, those are just the 3 things that I had for us. That brings us to public comment limited to our consent agenda items 4.01 to 7.07. I read it through pretty thoroughly. I didn't see any Bonnie spot on as usual. So if anyone has any public comment, just limited to what we're about to talk about in our consent agenda, okay? Yes, sir.
Yes, Paul Clark, Lens Creek. Thank you for explaining some of the teacher's contract to us. I'm a little confused about certain things. So for example, could you walk me through this? The teacher that's on step 1 this year, next year will go to step 2 and receive that increase, the step increase.
That's correct.
Okay, and then at February, the step increase will increase by 1.5%.
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay, and that'll happen each year in 5 years.
In January of the year, yes.
Okay. And the tenure differential, is that going to increase every year starting the 2nd year? So it would be a $600 increase total by the end of the 5th year?
By the end, cumulatively, yes.
Okay. And is the board aware of what the total output would be for the teacher's contract in the 2017-18 budget? Do they have that number?
17, 18, Paul?
Well, we've already voted on 16, so that's in the books.
Do you have this calculation check? Because we haven't started working on the project yet. We can come up with them fairly quickly though once.
So in other words, when you decided on the contract, the board didn't know what the financial consequences would be for the next 5 years.
everything that we negotiated with the faculty association was discussed with the board in executive session.
Okay, because it's not complicated. If everything remains the same, you can take the teacher in the third year, they're going to have so much for tenure, they're going to have so much for credits, they're going to have so much for salary, and then you can total that whole thing. So the board would have a working knowledge of, okay, it's going to be $200,000 budget impacting 17-18, $300,000 in 18-19. Is the board aware of those numbers?
Lower percentages, not necessarily.
We don't have the numbers right here, no.
Okay, so you can't tell me what this contract is going to cost the school district in 2018, 2019.
Not at this time,
Okay, thank you.
but we can.
Well, you need to know before you vote.
Any other public comment limited to the consent agenda?
Can I say that about what you just said? That we discussed this, but there's nothing in the,
For the 2016, 2017, this money has been budgeted. And the money will be subsequently budgeted for in each of the following years.
that's been discussed. Seventy thousand.
Yes.
Well, as well as. Okay. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Yes.
Yes, as a taxpayer, I don't understand the percentages. Is there anybody that can tell me, at the end of that 5-year contract, the highest paid teacher, how much raise do they have at the end of that 5 years? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what they're, in dollars and cents, not in percentages. Could someone just,
2 minutes, 1 minute.
Are there any other questions? Excuse me, any other comments for the consent agenda? Okay, then let's just move on here for a second, okay? Alice, can we get that number to you in a second? Sure. Okay, thank you. So then can we get a motion to accept our consent agenda, 401 to 707? I'll second this one. Any discussion?
I have a few questions. Just one quickly, it was 401, the minutes. I don't know what the protocol is for this, I've only missed one meeting, and it's the last meeting. So if we miss a meeting, are we supposed to go over the minutes of the meeting? Should we stay or is it not that big of a deal?
No, you're able to vote on it.
Sure. I have a question on 702. First time I've seen this here. Delaware, Toledo, Madison, Otsego, Boise. Are we replacing Orange Ulster or is this?
We cross-contract with a number of different places throughout the state, different services. We may, this one is a purchasing contract, we'll offer purchasing. We do certain tech support from Orange Ulster BOCES, so from time to time, we're required to renew these agreements with them. So it's just a cross-contract through our BOCES, so we can access services in other BOCES that our BOCES doesn't provide.
And on 705, which is, this is probably standard, but I just wanted to clarify. Approval of the contract for transportation services with Sullivan County BOCES, this is standard.
Yeah, what that is we provide a shuttle to Sullivan County BOCES between the main campus and Monticello. So our BOCES go up, they will pick up BOCES students that need to go to Monticello on their way to the garage, they will drop them off, and BOCES, we have a contract with BOCES where they pay us for that service.
So finally, I have a question, a couple of questions about the Faculty Association contract 6.16. Do you guys have any questions about it? Not like the meeting. Right, so, I mean, I'm just seeing the annual contract now when I arrived here at the meeting for the first time. I know we discussed the percentages and everything. It looks like, you know, what's in red represents the change. Everything is in red. Everything that's in black is just the same as.
Yes, it's the same language as before, and anything that's in red that is not a number is changes in contract language to clarify meaning or to remove items that are no longer relevant.
So, I mean, I skimmed through and it's not different from anything we discussed previously. But I don't have a question about the spending part of this. I have a question about the revenue side. So I'm going to try to explain this in a way that makes sense. Obviously, you know, we should pay our teachers who don't even work paid. So that's why I have no problem with spending. My question is that when we were talking about the tax cap and the budget a couple months ago, I remember this number, tell me if I'm wrong. We could spend $66,000 additional versus last year to stay within the allowable tax cap, right?
That's all included rates,
Right.
$66,000 in taxes. That doesn't mean that our state aid is not going to increase.
Okay.
Increases in other areas.
Well, we can only get 66,000 additional tax revenue
Unless
locally.
we want to exceed the tax cap.
And, you know, then there were costs that we can't control, you know, the healthcare premium increases that actually ate up most of that $66,000. So we have those things that happen every year. So I guess one of the questions, before we approve a spending plan for the next 5 years with additional, you know, significant increase in spending, how confident do we feel that we'll be able to raise revenues to support that contract? In other words, we know from the comptroller's report that we've been able to take advantage of our reserve funds to offset the structural difference between spending and revenues. And at some point, we're not going to be able to rely upon it anymore. It sounds like probably sometime soon. So it sounds to me like the choices are you're going to have to either cut, which is almost impossible to imagine being able to cut anything if we're so lean, or significantly increase taxes, which means asking our taxpayers for a supermajority, 60% yes vote to approve a budget that exceeds the tax cap. So how confident are we that we'll be able to do either of those things or some combination of that during these 5 years?
I believe that the contract is manageable. It actually allows us to prepare a long-term spending plan, knowing what the expenses are each year. That's one of the reasons normally our contracts in the past have been 3 years. During negotiations, we discussed bringing it out to 5 years so we had a predictable spending pattern. I think for planning purposes, it will work in our favor. Brian, it's going to be difficult. It's difficult every year, but I think it's manageable. Our state aid is incrementally going up. It's not by leaps and bounds. Through lobbying efforts, we seem to be able to secure additional revenues this year. We just received $135,000 from our elected officials. That's over and above our state aid, which will further go to help offset our costs in running our pre-K program, which in turn offsets costs in the entire operating budget. We do this every year, and we've been fortunate. I believe it will give us the ability to better predict our expenses and manage it. The Faculty Association has demonstrated over the past 6 years their willingness to work with the district. They know what our financial situation is. This is a proposal they came into us with. We asked for more. They worked with us to give us what we felt we needed to make this more manageable on the healthcare. They demonstrated that if the district is in a financial pinch, we're all in this together, and we all work together. They came to us to void their last contract. We didn't approach them. So I think by working with the faculty association, we have a predictable spending plan in place that will make our budgeting a little less difficult than it had been, because it will be a little more predictable.
That's a good point. I mean, it definitely, you can project out 5 years. I think we should probably start thinking about doing that. So in other words, to look at, 3 years down the road, what is the cost? And, what kind of additional revenues do we need to raise? And how are we going to do it? Because honestly, the cutting part, I can't fathom. So there's going to have to be some discussion about how you generate additional revenue. And then if you can't do it, then what are the consequences? What do we do then? One of our most helpful tools has been this reserve that we've been able to draw from. Again, we have a structural problem, then we'll pull money out of it. That's going to go away. So what do we use then? And that's my concern, is that we're making a long-term commitment here without really knowing what choices we're going to be faced with. And it's hard to think about without concrete numbers, if that makes sense.
It is a long-term commitment, but again, the faculty association has demonstrated their willingness to work with the district. I am confident that if we wind up against the wall, and I don't think this contract is going to do that, if I go back to them, they will sit back down with us and do what they've done in the past.
We are going to finish up this year better than last year. So we are aware.
By the way, I know you've worked all kinds of magic and made things happen. I think that's, I know we didn't find ways to be creative about, finding revenues and avoiding tax increases.
We're doing a presentation at the July meeting on all the reserves, historical over the past X number of years, so you have a understanding, or everyone has a better understanding of the years we had to hit the reserves, the years we didn't have to hit the reserves, why we didn't have to hit them in a given year, why we did them for a specific amount, because there were certain loopholes that we had, and where we stand now.
You have to understand when we build a budget in a public budget, it has to be a balanced budget. So you have to fund it for the expenditures. And you're predicting expenditures. That doesn't mean you're going to spend all of that. So that's why we don't always hit our reserves as predicted.
And who's trying to question about the increased salary?
No, I did. So if a teacher currently is making $100,000, and I calculated it at 20 years, so they're getting their 10-year bump, their increase in salary, and this is an approximate amount because you have to understand, I just did this right here, is approximately $13,000 over 5 years.
13,000.
Yes.
And are there some teachers now too?
We have very few teachers who are at that level.
Okay,
I just rounded that.
okay, can I ask another question? Why did the contract go from 3 years to 5 years?
It allows us to budget better for the future.
Do you realize that there has been 27 foreclosures in the town of Highland and Lumberland this past year? That's a lot of foreclosures. That's a lot of taxes because they couldn't pay. Their taxes are as much as their mortgage payments. So what they do is they have to walk away. I'm just concerned about our community with the taxes. I mean,
I understand.
You understand
I
what I'm saying?
understand what you're saying. Yes, I do. I do understand what you're saying. And we have been working very hard not to raise taxes. I mean, we raised it 0.69%, which came out to 60, I think it was $68,000, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, and it's very difficult for those who are already overburdened. But we are being as conservative as possible in trying to maintain program in this district.
And it would not be beneficial to go to a 3-year contract and see what happens instead of going to a 5-year?
I don't think that that's a good idea because, you know, I think you're better to go with a 5-year contract. You
develop veteran teachers at that point. You're not always turning them over and bringing in new teachers. They know your families. They're invested in your community. And I think it's better to go with a 5-year contract so you can budget out.
Have we had a lot of turnover with teachers? I didn't think we.
Well, I'm new to the district, so I don't, I mean, you have some new teachers.
Oh, yeah. We do, but I don't think we had a huge amount of people leaving our area.
I just see the benefit to a 5-year contract because it does allow you to budget.
I just think a 5-year, I mean, what happens if you don't make those taxes?
Then we go back to the teachers and we explain to them, and they were willing to open their contract in the past and make some concessions, and I'm sure they will be willing to do that again.
You don't foresee our schools closing?
No, I do not. No.
At all?
No, I don't see that. Okay.
Mr. Myers?
Thank you.
Hi, Josh Williams, representing the Public Staff Association. I've been negotiating contracts here for 18 years. This is actually the lowest percentage and lowest rates we've taken since I've been negotiating contracts. Staff Association tried to work with the district to raise insurance and keep costs low. You will see it will not have a huge impact on tax for those 5 years. It will look at place.
Ruth, can I respond to Ruth's comment? Ruth, I don't know what step you were looking at when you did that calculation, but I think you said it would be a $14,000 increase over the 6-year. So just to clarify, I mean, it does change if you look at lower steps. I mean, there are
Right.
greater variables.
I do have the right number. So our highest paid teacher is going to go up $7,000 over that 5 years.
And I guess as I was looking at this, I was trying to get some sort of a sense for additional revenues we might have to raise. Again, back to my original question, I looked at step 20. All right, so if you look at step 20, over the course of this 5-year contract, that teacher will move from step 20 to step 25. So you have step increases as you go along, but then each year, of course, you have an additional 1.5% increase. So the teacher at step 20 this year making $72,586. In year 5, we're making $94,355. That's a $21,769 increase. So it depends on what step you're looking at. And that's because you have significant increases in steps 20, 22, and 24.
That's not negotiable anymore. I mean, that's not in this contract, that's not changing. In other words, what you're saying is absolutely correct.
Right.
All I'm saying is that the part we're talking about is the negotiated new.
Oh, I understand. I thought the question was, what will the raise end up looking like over the course of the 5 years, not looking at last year's contract?
Right.
Was that your question, Mrs. Palmer? What will the
That was
increase
the question,
be?
that how much, in the 5 years, the end of that 5-year contract, how much will that teacher be making over, the rates?
And that's only one teacher. How many teachers are there?
So, I mean, that's the information that I don't know. It's a good question as well. And again, that's probably the most significant. If you look at step 20 to step 25, that's where the most significant increases occur. So that's probably like overstating what the average would be, but that's a 30% increase over the course of
You
the
have to
5 years.
understand, once they hit step 20, they don't get to step anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's right. They don't get the step increase anymore after step.
But I think at the longevity
It's
payment.
longevity, which is a lower than the step. And I can do this for next month and do the spread for Mr. Glass, do the spreadsheet, and you can see the progression out.
Just to take every contracts real briefly, since I teach for a living. So your pay depends on your time here, your credits, and a number of other factors. So trying to pick out one teacher, the top teacher, is kind of problematic. We do have the numbers across the whole thing. I will say once again, when we looked at it, we looked very carefully to try and keep the amount reasonable for taxpayers.
So I just want to say again out loud, so I'm give this construed. I'm not concerned about expense. That was not my concern. My concern was that with this contract, there will be a need for additional revenues. And my concern is where do the revenues come from? And at what point do we run into some very difficult scenarios? And that's something I know we're going to be talking about as we have our board workshop. But it's just, when you sign a commitment like this or you vote on it, it makes you a little bit uncomfortable about the unknown. So that's why I asked that question. I hope that makes sense.
Any other discussion with regard to the resolution? comment anymore?
I'd like to respond.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to respond
To,
Mr. Glance's comments.
have at it, Mr.
Okay.
Clark.
I want to reiterate what Mr. Glantz said. I've negotiated a contract for this district for 10 years before I was off the board. And I do want to say that this is lower than the current contract they're working under. I recognize the fact that they've made some concessions. I also recognize the fact that they're in a profession which is very aware of what their other professionals are getting around the county. One of the things that's happened in this county is that there are many school boards that have overtaxed their residents and build up tremendous reserves. So therefore, they have the ability to fund their contract, and that's the ability that we don't have. So I recognize their sacrifice, and I want them to know that. Thank you.
Any other discussion with regard to the consent agenda? Let's vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug, I actually do apologize. There's something on the consent agenda. It is tax warrant number 23. It must be 404 and 405. On the tax warrant number 23, it's from May 16th. There is just, I just wanted to make sure this is understand.
It's not taxing, it's their multiple.
I'm sorry, multi-fund.
I'm sorry.
Warrant number 23, May 16th, 2016. There's an invoice for legal services for Logan Serzinski in the amount of $3,296. What is that? Do you know what that is?
Yes, that is our monthly retainer plus charges for all and, nursing and legal counsel.
Is there anything in this particular warrant that is above and beyond the service monthly retainer that we have services?
Yes, it is. There are certain things that are privileged information that I can't discuss. Because they're subject to.
We have two pending legal matters that have caused us to exceed our retainer, yet not exceed the budgeted line item for the retainer.
We budget for the retainer and then additional services, so we are not exceeding our budget line.
Can you tell me if the additional legal services were in any way related to any board meeting? Okay, thank you.
Okay, one of them is an ongoing matter for several years. Actually, both cover one of those.
All right, thank you. That's it?
We're good? Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Let's vote. Brian?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Linda has stepped out. Tom, vote? Yes. And I'll say yes as well. Okay. That takes us to old business. Anyone have any old business? Any new business? Okay. That takes us to public comment. Oh,
Yes, sir. I just had a short question. At the last meeting, you mentioned that you were going to comment about you sent me a letter to the board. And remember it was the pipeline letter that we got to the board? And you guys mentioned how you were going to talk to me about it. And you was going to, we got busy. But I was wondering if there was any comment about that.
no, just that it was well done, Griffin, and we appreciate, the student council and their efforts, and their, their advocacy. It's been a really good experience.
We got some real letters from the state. We sent it to everyone on the back. We got some from the spot. So you seemed a little surprised in the way that they rolled back. But it was, good. Yeah, we got one from the Chicago side and then one from well, I heard back from the guy who runs the Scram organization. And then a couple of them. Cool.
Very good.
The Senate is usually very good about responding, sometimes responsible. Senate did not.
Yeah, that was cool.
Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Roxanne Curley Variable. I want to publicly thank the elementary teachers, the staff, for putting all their efforts into my child, Julia, who's graduating in a couple of weeks, a few more days, and her friends, and all the teachers that are here and that could not make it, community members, cafeteria staff, everybody that gave to my daughter. I can't tell you, I moved here on purpose, and I know I made the right decision, so thank you. Thank you for the board and Mr. DeFleur and everybody. I truly appreciate buses. I don't know how you guys do it. I could not do what you do, you know? I just couldn't do it, so thank you, and congratulations to all you guys. I'm very proud of you.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
I have lighter questions, since a lot of the questions are pretty heavy. I'm asking about the fitness center for staffing and hours during the summer and during the school year for the upcoming year. I understand there has to be an adult 18 or older to use the fitness center. Is there any way we can find out how we can staff it?
How do you mean, Mr.
Well, I understand that some students have to be removed from the fitness center if there is an adult over 18.
There has to be somebody in an acting supervisory capacity over the age of 18, yes. So,
And are we, I mean, I don't know what the hours are for this summer or for the upcoming year, but are we planning to figure out some way to staff it more consistently?
well, this staff is all volunteers. The district no longer pays the staff to supervise it. It was an item that was provided under a grant originally, and that grant has long since expired. Mrs. Fratchler is the one who tries to coordinate the hours of the coverage. She should be getting me a list of what the projected summer hours are.
Okay, are you looking for volunteers?
Anyone willing to volunteer, she will contact you and let you know what needs to be done as far as, I think it's CPR and first aid training, which we pay for. But we're always looking for volunteers to do it. A lot of our former athletes have volunteered to help out, but many of them are also away at college and they can only do it at certain times. But it is staff strictly on.
So when you contact her, we can get her to organize whatever volunteers we can find.
Yeah, anyone that you have interested in volunteering, you either contact Ms. Fratchler or myself directly.
I'd just like to thank the budget for helping me this year, and, helping to prepare the budget, and actually attending all the meetings. Mr. Cobb, Mrs. Schultes, Mr. Clark, Mr. Glantz, Mr. Reiser, and Mr. Cooley for that. And we learned a lot about the cafeteria, the budget. We got into the cafeteria after we talked about the budget. So there are some things on the horizon that are going to happen in our cafeteria, some improvements. And the one thing that I wanted to come out of this budget committee was for community members to learn how a public budget is created. And I think that Mr. Schultz has learned that, and then he go out and answer some questions, and they're going to happen to start again next year, and we will probably start earlier in the year next year. So thank you.
Is there, just out of curiosity, is there like a maximum number of people now? Or is it just open to?
There's no, well, I haven't even considered those questions, Richard, that you and I certainly discussed.
Very good. Thank you. Scott Alpine Lake, I would like to explain to me what happened at the vote with a board member and the people that was working the vote. What I'm hearing around town, is it true?
Listen. There was, I think there was some bad behavior. I think,
Here's what I think. You got people there donating their time, veterans were there, and to be talked to like that by a board member is absolutely ridiculous. He should resign. You should get off the board. You're supposed to be a professional person. You talk to people that donate their time. Talk to our senior citizens in our town that's been here a lot longer than you have, and you talk like that to them. Hope you're proud of yourself. I wish you talked to me like that.
I'm not proud of myself or the words that I used, and I did.
You should resign.
Well, I'm not going to resign. I do appreciate your concern. Okay, I'm not proud. What was the word you used? Proud? Happy? I'm not happy with language that I use. I don't use that kind of language ever. I mean, for people who know me, that's not language that I use in my home or with my friends or my family. I guess what we learned is that, I'm human, and I had a human moment that was not my brightest or proudest. I did apologize to those people on 2 occasions when I became aware, based on some comments that they made, they were really affected by it. And I sincerely mean that apology. I know that some of the folks weren't ready to accept my apology at that point. I apologize again. I should not use that kind of a language, and I shouldn't use that volume or that tone of anybody, particularly seniors and veterans and volunteers. And I can assure you that it won't happen again.
Let me ask you a question. A teacher or a worker in this school acted the way you did, used them kind of like, what would happen? What would the board, what kind of action would be taken? I can pretty much tell you what's probably going to happen. They ain't going to be here no more. And there was kids in that school that heard me going off like that. Kids in the school. That's ridiculous. I mean, I wear a different hat in that town also over there. I don't act like that. At all.
The reason I can answer your question about what specifically happened and what rumors are going around town is because I don't know what rumors are going around. And I've heard a couple of things. And don't believe everything you hear. I mean, it certainly was not good. It was not a good episode. I apologize for it. But, there are some things that were said that aren't accurate at all. So I don't know what you heard. I'm glad to talk to you about it without,
Anytime you want to discuss it with me, feel free.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you.
No problem.
I will mention that there was a student that was in the bathroom, who went to go to the bathroom, and she ran out crying. She ran out crying and very upset. So I think that student should be apologized to because she was terrified, and she wanted to get in my car instead of running to her sister's car. So I encourage her to go to her sister's and go home. But I do have a positive thing to share.
Please.
Because what he is saying is definitely right, and there should be a discussion on that. But I do want to share with the whole talk about the teachers and stuff like that. Last year this time, my now 5-year-old daughter hardly spoke. She had a speech issue, and we took care of it. And if it wasn't for Miss Yanni and Miss Tuso, and I'm going to throw Miss Robertson in there because she's also. I'm so glad that you have the pre-K program, and because my daughter now does not stop talking. And I believe that a big part of that is because of the teachers in this district. I believe that Miss Keegan, every morning she says good morning to my daughter, many mornings as she can. But I give a lot of props, I'm so old, to Miss Tuso and Miss Yemi, and all the teachers that my children will have or ever have had. But I think that we have to remain adults no matter what we're dealing with. And I think that we're getting away from that adult moment. And I think that that's something that should be taken care of.
I'll end on a positive note too. So I was at the meeting, and it wasn't pleasant, it wasn't professional. But more important than any of what happened is what happens hereafter. So the commitment to have learned, we're a school, the commitment to that won't happen again. Every one of us is human. Every one of us could have made a mistake. I suspect some of us much less than others, but that's not the point. The point is, Brian has committed himself that that is not going to happen again. And I believe.
So do I.
We're an educational system. We believe in learning from mistakes. We encourage our children to make mistakes in safe environments. I'm not going to call it a safe environment, but to learn from the mistake is the most important thing. We're a school, let's move on. We are this community, and what I've heard, I studied that, what I've heard is that's not who Elbert is. That's not who we are, so let's not go there.
Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Regarding the math teacher we hired, I guess, we hired a math teacher and he was going to get his physics certification within 2 years. I have an update on that.
Mr. Krebs, can you provide an update?
He is currently taking coursework
So he will be on time.
He was hired to be on time at the end of the second year.
So effectively next June, he should be certified?
By the following September.
Right, so we're
If
expecting
not,
him
it
to...
will be replaced. That's the agreement I have with the young.
That's fine, I just want to make sure. So I'm expecting to have physics next September.
That's our plan.
We're having physics this September.
Not like real class, not.
We have
not
a
the
physics class.
We're going to have a physics teacher, that's what I want to know.
We're
He's going to be certified.
the following year, yes.
Anyone else?
I'll end on a positive note too. Teachers don't get paid enough.
That's true.
Sorry. I would like to follow up with Mr. Howard. I can forgive. I can't forget. This has happened before. I've heard, I apologize until the next time. I apologize until the next time. It was wrong. You did not get up into the superintendent's face and call him. The ungodly names he was called. You do not.
Linda, are you specifically using certain words? So that's what I want to clarify. Is I think that there are things that were said that clearly weren't said. I mean, so what specifically, I don't know what public discussion we have, but I did not say most of the things that people have said that I said. And I would never. Now, I did use foul language that I would never use in my home, around my children, or in any public setting. But I did not call people the names that people suggest I call them, and I wouldn't. And if I did, then I absolutely would resign. If any of the things that people said I said were true, I would have already resigned. Okay, so
These people are lying.
I didn't hear any direct accusations, so I don't know what it is. It sounds like, there might be a little bit more on your mind than what actually.
Okay.
Well,
Do we have any other public
I
comment?
can't take it.
Do we have any other public comment?
So I'm not really familiar with what,
Can you state your name?
I'm sorry, Lorianne Frederick Sperryville.
Okay.
I'm not real familiar with this whole situation, but what I can say is there's always more than meets the eye. So what preceded this incident to make this happen? I don't really need to know, and I don't know if everyone in this room claims to know what really went on beforehand, but to me, if someone gets to that point, maybe sometimes there's a reason that somebody gets to that point. So that's really all I have to say, is that maybe people are hearing the after, but they don't really know the before. And everybody's making judgment calls. And like he said, we all make mistakes, but do we all have a breaking point? I'm pretty sure there's no one in this room that can say they don't. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Cobb?
I don't have a question about that. Are we going to continue privatizing some of the bus routes for the next year?
Can you clarify, please, because we're not privatizing the bus.
Let me rephrase that, using the outside service for some of our longer sports trips? Or is that just a patchwork and we're going to?
That's more patchwork. If we don't have drivers to do the runs, our drivers are offered the runs first. Sometimes scheduling requires us to contract out. We keep a standing contract with one of the bus companies for emergency purposes. But our goal is to have our drivers drive our routes and only use those services when we have no other alternative.
And I assume we're working on trying to attract or retain the drivers we have.
We've been working with the head of the Drivers Association, Mrs. Mueller, and Ms. Lewis, yes.
Thank you.
Just, can I just follow up, Mr. Cobb? The district that I work in has a tremendous bus driver shortage. Just so I would venture to say that this is a widespread problem, not just in one person. Okay?
Well, I completely agree, I'm just trying to figure that out.
Monticello has the same problem. And all the
That's
contract
right, we
companies, all the contract companies as well, because they're always running into it.
Right, and my next question, and we're going to keep going, is GPS systems. I mean, I've had some stories where bus drivers are not knowing where they're going. According to what I've been told, the district has one GPS and it's 6 to 7 years old. Is that something that we're going to try to give our drivers a little bit better education on where they're going?
That's been addressed.
Yeah.
I did address that.
Yeah,
I addressed that.
I just want to know the public, if you and I talking, we can't fix it.
Okay. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
So, Kelly Nelson, I have a church. On the website, there's a code of conduct, and on that code of conduct, in section 5.0.20, it states how parents should act in school. And I feel that my child is in school that could apply.
Can't disagree with you.
So what is something that you expect everybody to take responsibility for their actions? There's no argument about that.
There is no argument.
Right.
I totally agree with you. My response to you would be that typically the superintendent is the person that handles those situations. And the superintendent doesn't have the authority, so far as I know, typically what happens is that parent would be asked not to come on school grounds.
Because if I went to a football game,
Right.
which I can send a document saying I won't activate that behavior that was happening.
So
it's okay to do it at any other time?
the superintendent doesn't have the authority to serve that document to his employer.
But there's also a New York State board medical conduct. And that also, I also have that.
Right, no argument here.
Right.
No argument here.
You need to take responsibility for your actions.
I
You
agree.
expect everybody else around you to do that. You should do that.
Understood.
So she's asking what is the next step.
I don't know what the next step is. I guess that would be something that I would have to seek the advice of our attorney. I don't know the answer to that question. I haven't thought about it. I apologize.
It shouldn't have brought a part of that. It should have.
Okay. I didn't think of it.
Who wrote the code of conduct then? Like who you approve it? I mean, it was revised, not
Yes. Yes, we do.
So you should be expected in there, specifically says when a parent is on school property, your respect students, faculty, it says that.
I completely understand that. Mr. Cox?
I don't condone Mr. Siegel's behavior, but everybody in this room then has the responsibility of finding a candidate better than him and replace him. You can ask him to quit now, you can do whatever you want, but everybody then come and vote and find us a better candidate. Find somebody else in this room that's willing to take his seat. Anybody raise your hand? It's a tough job. There you go.
I will tell you from
So whatever this term is over, obviously you've got a great opportunity to replace.
Well, I think that wasn't the first time that someone was attacked at a board meeting, board election, or anything. I know that there was a board ed meeting that 2 people were attacked at that, not physically, but verbally, and I know.
Specific with our accusation. I
Okay,
just want to make sure,
so,
because I don't want to, have any innuendo, so what specifically is it?
well, when you were attacked,
Me asking questions.
that you were.
But I'm going to continue to ask questions. I will not use that language, and I didn't use that language, and I didn't get it.
But Brian, where if you look at the video.
So what I'd say is that, the nice thing
Brian, if you
about...
look at the video,
Yes.
you are doing it. But
I'm just going to say one thing. just
And in my
so
own
you know.
personal running, how I was treated.
Well, I was a two-way street. We're not going to get it. But,
Okay.
look, let me just say one thing real quick, and this will be respectful. The fact is that our meetings are on videotape, and that's nice because you can go back and you can kind of see, my language and my demeanor. And for those who know me, you'll know that was an unusual and worthy of apology moment. That was a human moment where I used bad language and I spoke loud. And that is the only time there's any evidence of me acting like that, because that's not me, it's not who I am now. I do owe you an apology. Sorry? But that's me doing my job as a board member. I know you don't like my approach with asking questions. No, I don't scream at anybody who does that. No. Okay, you might get screaming. I mean, I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about my responsibility. Yes, okay. So, but I do apologize for the language and the tone and the volume. And like you said, Mr. Beliefrenick, Mr. Howell, I made the promise to you correctly. That's not going to happen again. It's not who I am, and I'm conscious of it. Okay? So, again, that's sincere. I sincerely apologize for it. It will not happen again.
One night since July meeting last year, not one single night. Mass
Mr. Neal?
Yeah, I'm really, I'm absolutely baffled what's going on. And we're treating this like, this is like, yeah, okay, it's done, it's over. No, it's not. So now, let me get it straight so I understand what's going on. So you apologize, right, everything's good. So every teacher, you do something wrong, they get a moment. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing? Because all they need to do now is say, I'm sorry, what you did is incomprehensible. There's no way around it. You haven't spoken to me directly. I have to go to you buddy.
Hold on. Excuse me. Mr. Nealon, you need to maintain order. If you want to make a public comment, that's...
It's very upset.
Okay. Thank you.
I apologize. The bottom line is, there's children, my mother-in-law, who tried to drag my right into this, okay? And
Again, public comment.
you said to my mother-in-law, hey, just what you gave her a heart attack.
Let's go back to what matters for the kids.
Okay, so.
All right. Thank you. Any? Yes, sir.
You guys know me, Jason Charles with Winston. But I don't really give a crap about it, to be perfectly honest. There isn't a person in this room, I don't give a damn who you are, you haven't had a moment where you wish you could take it back. Not a one of you. You make a mistake. Yeah, he's passionate. You don't see passion in anybody's field out there really anymore. You don't see anybody who gets into this and says, I volunteered. I'm here to make things right. I'm here to figure out what the problem is and try to solve it. And be passionate about it. If we're going to drag up all the stupid stuff and just keep focusing on it, okay, fine. People are going to have a hard time getting over it. I don't like when people talk down to me. Nobody should. But you got to find a point where you say, you know what, let me put that aside, be the adult, and say, okay, I got to work past this, because we're never going to solve the problem if I can't put this aside. You're never going to be able to. Put it aside, you guys have to have an executive session if you're not going to do what you got to do. If somebody thinks they can step up and be as passionate and do their job and research, figure out where your money's going, like running to, step up to the plate. If you're not going to do research, you're not going to do homework, well, guess what? You shouldn't be in that seat. You shouldn't run for it. It's not an easy thing to literally be responsible for millions of dollars every single year, thousands of children over the course of your time, and not, if you're not passionate about it, and you're not going to flip out when something seems like it's fishy, because nobody's listening, guess what? Go find something else to do. That's what I got to say. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty good.
Yes.
My name is Lori Terry, I'm here from Wednesday. I was there the night of the vote, and I just want to say one thing. I see a lot of gray, you can look at things from a bunch of different ways. This was not a momentary lapse. This was a tirade that went on for a good 20 minutes. I left the room where it started. I secured the ballots in a safe, and I came down and it started again. I can forgive a lot of momentary lapses, a curse, a slam, a kick, whatever. But this went on for a really long time. I am concerned about your abilities because you couldn't get yourself under control in half an hour.
Hi, I'm Jessie Powell. I was also present at the night of voting, volunteering. I agree with everything that Mrs. Terry just said. It did continue for quite a long time. There was an apology in the middle of the time, and then it went on and continued. So that was a little concerning. And I think I want to hear what caused you to do that. I mean, we've heard people kind of ask that question and say, you know, everybody can be upset. So I would, Mr. Siegel, really like for you to tell us what caused you to be so upset that evening.
I don't want to drag the board into a back and forth on the specific details. It's not fair to the board. Board president asked me to be careful about it. So I am welcome to, I've welcomed any of you to speak with me. I'm accessible to everybody. You know, by the way, I'm everywhere in town. You can find me. Yeah, I'm glad to talk to you about it. It would be, I don't think it's the right venue to go through specifically what accusations were made and whether they're true or not. So I apologize. I can't answer you in the setting, but I'm glad to speak. That's the best I can say.
I just have one more question. If my husband spoke to you in front of your children that way, how would you feel?
I'm sorry, Ms. Mills, I can't answer that question.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then we need a motion to enter executive session. This is June. And the obligation of this board is to evaluate